Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. Thanks for joining us for another Jaggernaut Podcast. All you Jackson villains out there, the training camp season has begun. Preseason's around the corner. And we're going to start and talk about what's going on in camp. Try to catch anybody up with some of the little bit of information. Throw in maybe some opinions here and there if we have some. I'm Frank. That's Mike. What say you, bro?
Duval! Gotta say it right. You come correct, right? Throwing it down, Duval County.
So one of the things I wanted to do was start off. I haven't got a chance to get out to camp, and I know you did. So just some general ideas. What about the Miller Center?
Dude, the thing was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess if you're watching this, I don't know how old you guys are, but we used to go to training camp when Tom Coughlin from 95 to I don't know when, at least once a year, sometimes more times than that. This literally was the best training camp situation for the fans I've ever been in. Now it feels a lot tighter. I don't know how many it can hold in its stands, but it feels like there's not quite, even though it looks like there is. Maybe it's just because it consolidated all the fans into one locale. But man, they got those big ass fans. You know what I'm talking about? Like the
literally big ass fans.
They constantly move the air. There's a constant breeze. I sat out there for the entire practice. It was a humid, regular summer day in Jacksonville, and I did not break a sweat once.
Speaking of, that was something that a little news note about training camp was some of the guys were having issues with the heat today. Did you hear that?
First time they had on pads.
Yeah. So Ridley sat down for a while. Anton Harrison sat down. Those are the only two that I heard. But everybody was struggling a bit.
Okay, so Anton Harris, I heard, was not heat related. And he's having a shoulder issue.
That's right.
And Ridley, they haven't said what it is. But if you guys aren't used to this heat, you should have asked somebody.
Well, he played, I don't know where Ridley's from. He played college in Alabama, but he also played in Atlanta. So, he's dirty South. I think with Ridley, it's probably more he's been off for a while.
It could be like some hamstring,
like a year and a half or so.
Right. It could be something like that. So they're just holding him out because they don't want small tissue injuries. And so that's what I believe. But yes, the Miller Electric, it's fantastic. I think it is awesome. I didn't have any of the food. I didn't look at the pro shop. Mm-hmm. I just went, I found a seat, I sat down. And you are fairly close to the players, so it's not bad vantage points, So, yeah, I think it's awesome. And then on the far side, away from the fans, is where you can see that they built a huge, garage, but inside that garage is you can see the playing field. So there is a full-size NFL field inside that garage, and they had the bays all open. It was pretty cool. Had some music out there, playing some Eazy-E.
The part that that jumped out to me that you just said is you're close to the players, because I remember it felt like every time we used to go, you were always wondering why the players you were always close to were the punters and the kickers. They had 3 fields. And they would do the more stuff you'd be interested in, on the furthest field away. It's like, what
In
are you
all
doing? Like,
yeah,
we're here to
like
see the football team, you know?
I think
So,
honestly they were just doing that to be dicks. So why not just line up on this first field
yeah.
closest to the fans? But
And that's the
I
thing.
agree.
That's the thing too. A lot of people don't, maybe in the national audience, don't understand. There was that vibe a lot with, I used to, you know, there was this vibe from the Jaguar brass under Weaver, and then I never thought Weaver was a bad guy or anything like that, but so I don't know that it came from him, but Coughlin certainly had his personality quirks, but even with Del Rio and I just always felt like there was this sort of snooty. They looked down their nose a little bit at the fans, and whether it was in commentary and that's the thing people I don't think appreciate enough about the situation the Jaguar fans were in. Not only did the product on the field suck, but you're the people who run the ship were telling you, it's like they're pissing on you and they're saying it's raining all the time, and you got a little. There's always these little tidbits of things that made you feel like you were not appreciated as a fan, and so I think that's changed quite a bit, which is good. So
It is good. And like I said, the facility, I don't know about inside. I don't know if they're eating off of 24 karat gold silverware. I don't know. But from what I could tell from my previous experience of going to basically almost every year's training camp, but the last two, is that this is the nicest place that I've seen. Not only that, it's funny because when they got done with their stretching, several of the guys just ran over. They're literally probably about 26 yards away from me, right? And I'm elevated, and they're a little bit below me, and they just yell Duval. I mean it was great, and that's the players. That's the players to the fans, right? Now the fans, every time something happened, it was just like a game. You had Duval chants going. One of the best parts was sitting directly behind me was this little 2-year-old girl who's standing on her mom's legs, clapping and going, Duval. Her pronunciation was a little off, but you knew what she was saying, and she was a Jags fan. That's hella good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was to me, that was probably the best part there. Now I got to see Trevor warm up a little bit. Evan Ingram was who he was warming up with. He was catching everything. It was just little passes here or there. They were working on some end zone stuff. On the 11 of 11, Trevor was high, looked a little slow. Ingram dropped one. It was slightly behind him, but if it hits you in your hands, you got to catch it.
Yeah.
It hit him in his hands. He dropped it. Who else? Zay Jones. Apparently, Zay Jones had a hell of a day today. 4 touchdowns in red zone. When I was there, Zay Jones made a hell of a catch. He was slightly out of bounds, but it was a hell of a catch. I think the problem was Trevor put the ball a little bit where it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Again, it was close, but it was slightly out of bounds, but it was a hell of a catch. So Zay Jones, nobody's really talking about Zay Jones because Ridley's here.
Right.
Don't be surprised if Zay Jones becomes Zay Jones. I mean, don't be surprised because so far what I saw last year and what I'm seeing this year says that the dude is at least anything. He is slightly below top notch, but consistent.
Yeah.
Right? Like solid number 2 dude or solid number 3 dude, however you want to rank him in Kirk.
Right.
So he looked good out there. I didn't recall the tight ends outside of Evan Ingram. I don't know which one is Peterson's son or which one's the other guy. Britton Strange didn't do a whole lot that I saw when I was there.
Yeah.
Ridley dropped the ball, but again, Trevor was a little off. So I will say, though, now that I've said that Trevor was a little bit off, ETN it was 11 on 11, first string versus first string. ETN did a wheel route out of the backfield, and he was being covered by Josh Allen. Now, you know I don't like that, right?
Yeah.
But whatever. I can't argue with Caldwell. Caldwell is probably going to get you fired, but it's your job to lose. Allen was with him. It was close, but it wasn't all that close.
Yeah.
Trevor just dropped it, man. He didn't have to extend. He put his arms just like this. I mean, you could have fed, I don't know, a peep, one of those holiday peeps.
Yeah.
He would have caught that. It just said right in stride, never even broke stride. It was beautiful. So that was nice. Another thing I noticed: Hasty, Johnson, ETN, and Bigsby. Them boys got wheels for days.
Yeah.
They all seem to be able to move. All of them. Now, I didn't know where Connor was.
It's not important.
I didn't see Connor. I don't think he's making the team anyway.
No.
But those
practice
four
squad,
guys,
maybe.
Those four guys right there, they have some damn wheels. So they say speed kills, and if we can come up with decent execution, that's a hell of an offense, man. Everybody's talking up our offense, and I'm trying to just be cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, until we see it, until they prove it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But it does lead something to get excited about. That's what I will say.
No, I agree with that. I got some notes here, and you kind of hit, and my my notes basically kind of go around what I'm hearing coming out of camp, not just on the day you were there, but just on all the days, or sort of a summation, I don't know what the word is, a summary of all the days. And you hit on a few different things that I was going to bring up. Was think about the wide receivers at this point: Ridley, Kirk, and Zay. And I have heard people talking about Zay. Like he's starting to get noticed that he's. Don't forget about Zay. Basically, don't forget. But Parker Washington is making plays. That people are looking at that guy. He's making some plays, and Elijah Cooks is somebody who, I don't know nothing about that guy.
But they say Austin's making plays too.
Austin was making plays, and so what it looks like what happened was Kevin Austin was the one that was sort of, in the background where people go, oh, don't forget Kevin Austin's on the team, and we thought he might be good, and it looks like he's starting to make plays. And then all of a sudden, this Elijah Cooks guy is starting to make plays too. So you start looking at that, and of course, grain of salt, because this is the silly season, and everybody's looking. Yeah. But the difference is that I think when you talk about Zay Jones, look, this is a guy who did it last year. And he did it with Trevor, and he's with Trevor for the second year. So that's something that's, that chemistry is only better now. So,
and I agree. Everything changes when you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Zay Jones has already been punched in the mouth. We know what's going to happen with him. So I feel confident in saying that as far as when I was there, to me, he was the guy standing out at camp. It wasn't Ridley. People are talking up Ridley, and I get it, right? The pedigree, there's a reason to talk.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is that when I was there, I saw Zay Jones. Now, Ridley looked like he could potentially have that other gear. He did look almost like he was moonwalking while everybody else was out there running.
Yeah.
So I will say that there is something to him. His route running looks extremely crisp. I didn't see a ton of it, but I saw enough to be like, oh, that dude, he can cut on a dime.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, though, is that when we start rating these people and you keep hearing these names over and over again, you don't really hear Calvin Ridley making plays. What you hear is Zay Jones making plays.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing to point out, too, that you mentioned was the running backs. And it makes you wonder what this offense is going to look like because there's only one ball. And everybody's expecting Trevor to have this great year. I don't know what the statistics will look like. We did a show on that, sort of just, spitballing what
What
the
we
next
thought
year
good would
may
be,
look
yeah.
like in regards to passing. But we have to keep in mind, too, that we all of a sudden look at the running back stable and we go, man, we can play smash mouth too. Now, this brings up where we need, I think, to go, which is all of this: receivers, quarterback, running back, contingent on the line, on the offensive line.
Correct.
Because
the 31st line.
Great segue, right?
Hey.
Yeah, so I think you saw the pictures. They were wearing them out there when you were there, right? The
Yes.
T-shirts that said the 31st O-line. And typically when people do this, and this is online for a little bit, where the Jags are playing into this, it's almost like they've been punked, or and I'm thinking, but are they wrong? Are they wrong? 31st O-line? I don't know that
they're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they should be 30th or maybe 29th. I mean, I don't
28th
know.
Or
Yeah, I
28th,
mean, what are we talking about here? No, if you look at any of the grades, they're not graded high. And it's funny too, because I said smash mouth and I saw immediate reaction from you. And that, I think, is intuitive because of an issue that we had last year. We are not going to be an amazing offense that we need to be, that everybody wants us to be, unless we can get our short yard running game down, because we were terrible at that. That was the one thing last year that I don't think we ever really were able. We may have got slightly better toward the end of last year. I'm not sure, but I just remember lining up in jumbo and needing a yard and not getting it a lot of times. Like there's a few times where Trevor takes the ball, okay, reaches over, gets a touchdown. I mean, everybody remembers those. But how many of them were, it was third and short. It was inches. It was a yard. It was a yard and a half, and we missed it because our line didn't push anybody. And that happened a lot last year, and people need to remember that. So, you can say, well, Tank Bigsby is a freight train. I saw that somebody put a GIF out, GIF or whatever you want to call it, saying this is the short yard running back guy, and he looks like it. Everybody's talking about it. Like, he's got exactly what you said. But if the offensive line isn't going to actually do anything to move the pocket, you're still going to have problems. So, the pads went on. Did they go on yesterday, or was today the first day? I think today's the first day.
Today. Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to see a little bit more of the offensive line kind of shine, I guess, if that's even a term, offensive line. They never shine, right? But it's just something to keep an eye on. We didn't do a lot this offseason to change. I know Anton Harrison is going to replace Jawan Taylor. So, that's the main thing that we really need to keep our eye on, because I don't really have too much of a fear of Walker Little. Cam Robinson's got his 4-game suspension, but I'm fine with with Walker Little at left tackle. That's great to me. He played really well when Robinson was hurt at the end of last year, and the question then becomes about Harrison. How does he fit in? And Sheriff next to him. My understanding about Sheriff is actually looking really good. Like, to be an older guy, on this team, and I say that in relative terms to the fact that this is a
Yeah,
relatively young team.
He's younger than you.
Yeah, so that who's not right?
Well, when
And
did that change?
it happens before you know it, blink of an eye. But the talk is he looks rather quick and spry out there. But the problem with him is that's because this is the preseason. He's probably going to get dinged up because he gets dinged up every year, and then that'll change. Is Fortner going to turn the corner? And if you remember last year when we were doing the rookie, we were kind of trying to figure out the rookies, the review of when after the draft, and I said this about this guy when we drafted him. He doesn't get to the second level. He doesn't stay on his blocks, and that was something that was an issue last year, and that's not good for a center. So he needs to be stout, and I thought he was pretty stout, but for whatever reason, not stout enough. Maybe grow in strength and get to the next level and open up some of those second level holes, and then you will all of a sudden have a running game that's really good. But we got to keep Trevor clean. And so right now, this was something that I noted. They are playing Cam Robinson and Walker Little at left guard because Ben Barch is not able to go because he's still on the pup because of his.
So when I was
ACL.
out there, they had Cam specifically at left tackle. They did have Walker Little at left guard.
Right.
Now I saw them rotate, but Cam Robinson never hit the guard position.
He's doing it now.
Okay.
That's
I was just saying.
That's a bit of a change in the past couple of days is they're putting Robinson in at left guard and see, which is something a lot of people have said, by the way, for some time, that maybe he's more of a guard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but
again, it's about the best five. And
absolutely.
we have to trust Doug Peterson to find the best five and put the best five out there.
Yep.
Now, can we get better? You hope so. Because, we need to protect Trevor. We need to open the lanes, right? We need to do that in both the run game and for the pass game. So we need an offensive line, and we need our offensive line to get better than 31st. They can be pissed off that they got tagged as 31st, but if it really makes you guys mad, do something about it.
Yeah.
Don't just wear a stupid T-shirt.
Yeah. And I hope the T-shirt is emblematic of
It's a bit of a motivation, right?
an
Every day they
attitude
look
adjustment.
at it,
Hey, I'd love to. I come to the defense of the Jags because, there's oftentimes when there's this negative perception that is not accurate. In this case, man, I'm not
Hard to
gonna
argue.
I'm not gonna argue with it. Like,
Yeah,
you guys
hard to
are
argue.
not that good, and I know they, for the most part, kept Trevor upright, but come now. If you watch football, you know what's going on here. This is not an amazing offensive line. No, this bulwark that keeps everybody off Trevor. This is a coach, a scheme, and a QB that are getting rid of the ball very quickly, and they are picking their spots to do the long 7-step drops and stuff. They're not going downfield a ton. And they're doing that because they have to. Because this offensive line is not great. So, yeah, something to watch. Let's hope they improve.
All right, so as defense, you can't really glean much. Like I said, I saw Josh Allen again in coverage. Way to go, Mike Caldwell. Woo, you're smart. That really infuriates the shit out of me. But whatever. Maybe they brought pressure from the other side. You got to trade. Who knows? I will say that Travon Walker looked much leaner than he did last year. So maybe he has dropped some weight or shedded some body fat because he's no longer having to play down 3 technique, like a down defensive lineman. So you don't need that much weight. So maybe he shredded a little bit of weight. Maybe he added some more muscle. I don't know, but he looked mean. He looked very leaner to me. And I was like, damn, all right. He's still tall as shit, but he looked, again, leaner. Outside of that, I couldn't see much. Nobody got to the quarterback. Nobody did much of anything. It is what it is. They were playing in shorts.
Yeah. I know Tyson Campbell has looked pretty good. And combined with the fact that the receivers all tend to be showing out here and there. Again, this is camp, underwear time, all that stuff. The issue I have is where are the other corners? Like, I'm a little scared because I definitely saw Trey Herndon getting burned by Parker Washington. And look, it happens. This is practice, and you're trying different techniques and shades and things and whatever. But the this some that my thought process on this is because it's the silly season and you hear what people talk about. Oh, look at this guy, look at that guy, look at this guy. I tend to go, okay, well, who are they not talking about? Because that might be where we need to look. Because, and if you're talking about the wide receivers and you're talking about Tyson Campbell, how come we're not talking about Darius Williams? How come we're not talking about Trey Herndon? I know some of the other the safeties tend to be playing well. Antonio Johnson had a really good day today, apparently. I haven't heard much about Jenkins though. Cisco, this is supposed to be the year where he's supposed to make this jump. So let's see that happen. Right now, we're not seeing much. One of the things I did notice, and you can't not notice this if you're paying attention to the coverage, everybody's lauding Garrett Prince, the tight end that was on our practice squad last year. And he's got touchdowns. I mean, he's scoring touchdowns in camp. He looks the part, and I heard people say look out for him before training camp began, and he looks like he's doing what people expected. That's great. We got Evan Ingram too, but that makes me wonder, where's Brenton Strange? This is the guy we drafted in the second round, and we're not hearing much about him, which is normal for tight ends, I guess. I'm not expecting a lot from Brenton Strange this year. We didn't draft him, I don't think, for that. He's more of your utility tight end. He's not your move, so you're not going to see. He's going to come in and block and maybe get a touchdown every now and again, I guess. But it's nice to see that we have jars on the shelf, I think, at this point.
That's only if we keep producing. That's only if we keep producing on the field. So with that being said, yes, as long as we keep producing on the field, yeah, it's nice to have jars on the shelf. But if we don't, those jars become starters, and it may actually happen too early.
Yeah.
So I would love Strange to get a year in under his belt, not doing much but coming in every now and again, just getting acclimated to the NFL.
Right. And
then next off season, we need to hear Strange all the time. They need to start playing a theme song for him or something. Yeah. I mean, so I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me.
Well, especially when you have another tight end taking his place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
But again, who knows what Penn State football is about?
Right.
It could be Sandlot. Hey, you just run. If you're open and I see you, I'll throw it.
I don't remember. What's the normal grouping of tight ends that are kept? Is it 4 on the starting 53?
I don't know. 4. I think between the running backs, the linebackers, and the tight ends, there's a certain number that you keep.
Based on special teams.
Yep. And the first criteria is starters. Second criteria is backup special teams.
Yeah.
So
one of the guys that I've heard about, and I haven't really heard that he's making any plays per se, but apparently he stands out just because he's so huge, is Sammis Reyes.
That the fullback?
No, he is another tight end, but he's He's relatively tall, and he's just a large human. He's 260, but apparently like it's all in his shoulders, and it's like he just looks large when he's out there. And the reason why I mentioned as we're on tight ends, it'll be interesting that's the type of guy you're going to see in the preseason. He's going to get a lot of opportunities probably, and we need to start sort of gearing ourselves up for these jars on the shelf to think about who are the guys maybe like the Garrett Princes who will manifest next year, like, because this will be the preseason where they might flash, and the hope is you don't see them in this off season or in this regular season, because that means your starters are playing well and they're healthy.
Yeah.
So
well, hey, this is what preseason football is for. A lot of people say they don't like preseason football because the starters aren't playing, because it's meaningless.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. But if my third string, or if a Jacksonville Jaguar third string is out there kicking the shit out of their third string, I say that guy deserves to go up against second string. Yeah. And then if he does it against the second string, I say that guy's playing for a starter role. And you can tell these people.
Yeah.
And you can literally watch a preseason game and you can pick out probably the two best players who aren't starters in that game. You hope that they're on your side. Usually they're on the other side for us. But but that's why I like preseason. I stay glued to the TV, I think, more maybe in preseason than I do sort of in the regular season. Like the preseason, I'm looking at the center. I'm like watching the guards, I'm looking at the defensive tackles. In the regular season, I'm just sort of zoned. It's like I take a wide angle, and it's like, oh, I'm just zoned out, and I'm watching it all unfold. So I have to wait for the replay to go in there and pick out who's doing what. But during preseason, I'm looking for anything I can.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And the reason why I think that it's like that is you just don't care what happens to the ball. Like what's going to happen? Someone's going to score in a meaningless game. It's irrelevant. So you're looking at those things that that may be the time where you're wanting to see,
right. What is his name? The linebacker out of Florida.
Oh shoot, man!
Yasar something. I want to say Yasar Miller or something.
You're thinking Yasir Abdullah. He's not the one from Florida. I think he's from Louisville, maybe. Okay. I forget the one from Florida.
Pick either one. But they come in, and all of a sudden, that guy is always in the other team's backfield.
Right.
Right. It's like they can't stop him. To me, I'm like, well, maybe in preseason game number 2, let's throw him out there with the starters just to see what he does.
I'll tell you who I'm interested in seeing this year in preseason, because he should get an opportunity to get some minutes in, I would imagine. Caleb Vaughn.
Dude, he's my God, I'm trying to think of the guy we used to have. Came from Florida. Of
course. Derek Harvey?
Bryant. No, Bryant.
Oh, Tavian Bryant.
Tavian Bryant.
You forgot Tavian Bryant?
Yeah.
No, I would have never thought Tavian Bryant was not.
To me, I've already written him off. I've already written off Caleb Vaughn.
Yeah, I think I have too, but I'm kind of rooting for him, man. There's part of me that wants him to succeed. Like
at this point, man, if you succeed, this may be where we differ a little bit. At this point, if he succeeds, he's only succeeding in a contract year. And what have you done the other 3 years? Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Dude,
that's a great point.
I mean, great that you're succeeding for my team. I get it. But some other team is going to get handily fooled by this guy. Because he's going to come out, he's going to put up 6-7 sacks, and they're going to say, well, he's hardly played.
Yeah.
Hill's going
He's
to be
turned
the
the corner.
bomb. Yeah, he's going to be great. They're going to sign him for $13 million a year.
I hope he does that. You know why? Because we'll get him for a year, and it won't be a wasted draft pick. Like he'll feel good. Like we won't be able to sign him. I wouldn't imagine. I mean, I don't know. There's part of this is a good segue too. What about the Danielle Hunter stuff? Because early in the week there was, well, I think it's early. I don't know. Maybe like a week ago. It's been a number of days where there was this talk. Oh, he's following Jags on his Instagram, and he's following Jaguar players, which made you thought, that's interesting because he wasn't following any other NFL teams. And this is a guy on the Vikings, so that was weird. And maybe so they worked out a deal for him with the Vikings, so he's going to be there one more year. And maybe he was using us. Maybe it's like, I'll follow the Jags. Yeah, the Jags are interested. But it got me thinking, once he did that, I thought, man, could we use somebody like that? I mean, we just got done talking about Trayvon and Josh. What are you can always use a pass rusher is what I'm getting at. And then my thought goes, well, would we be able to sign Josh Allen? Because again, and I said this before, and I don't, I hate to repeat myself, but I will. I'm a little fearful going into this year that Josh Allen will have the year that people hope, and then it's going to be so hard to sign him, and especially if we had somebody like Danielle Hunter. So forget him for a minute, but Caleb Vaughn, let's say he has a good year too. Obviously, we're not re-signing him, but I guess that's just where I'm at. It's like, well, what do we do now next year at defensive end? I'm hoping that it can't be we've got Josh's replacement in Trayvon because he had a pretty good year too. It's like, no, you need two of these guys, you know? And I want our guys to stay here when they become good, because that's rare, man. It's rare that we get good ones.
Keep going, brother. Preach it. Woo! Look, man, I agree. We've had such shitty draft picks. Most of them haven't been worth re-signing, and the ones that were have left. They forced their way out the damn door. Why? Because our organization was trash. Plain and simple. That's what it was. The entire organization was trash, and that means under Khan too. Here's my deal. Guys that can affect the quarterback, or generally, that's the problem you want. You want too many of them. And then you can slowly start to weed them out and do whatever you need to do, okay? I'd like Josh Allen to be here. I really would. The dude seems like a good guy. He's a hard worker. I like the fact that he holds up against the run. He affects the quarterback. He doesn't quite always finish, but he affects the quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe he can have that. And I don't have a problem paying him. And I agree, you can't say let him go because we got Walker. No, because you're right. We need two of them.
Yeah.
So Josh Allen and Walker, I'd love it if that's our DNs for the next 6 years, or 7 years or 8 years or whatever. I'd be completely content with that. I'd be happy with it. I have no problem. But like any other position, like every other position, you should have guys right behind them that are learning. If those guys aren't better, you send them off for more draft capital, and you draft more. And at some point, the two you have are going to need to be replaced. And it's usually every 3 to 4 years. As shitty as that sounds, it's the NFL.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in my mind, when the Danielle Hunter stuff was out, I'm like, could we possibly re-sign? Because I think in order to have done that, we'd have to assign Danielle to a larger contract, because that's what he was looking for. Could we do that and still sign Josh next year? That's what I was thinking about in my mind. So the concept of Caleb Vaughn, it's like, I exactly what you said. Even if we could sign Caleb Vaughn, let's just say he had a really great year. Say he has 10 sacks,
Yeah.
Would you trust it? Like,
mm-mm.
I would sign Josh, and I would let Caleb go, and
And
and he would get a contract, and
I'm not
everybody's
saying
great.
and I'm not saying I wouldn't offer Caleb if he got 10
Yeah,
sacks.
I
I'm
agree.
not saying I wouldn't offer him a contract. But it would be at like the 73rd price point on defensive ends. Because that's really what your 3 years here says.
Yeah.
You had one great year, you had 3 bad years. Your totality of your career here says you're 73rd in the league. I'm going to give you a contract there. I'll go up as high as 65 in the league.
Do I hear 60?
No. But if you get higher, dude, go take higher. Go make your money. You have a limited window to go make your money. I'm not hating you for it. Go on.
Before we, do you have any other Jags stuff that you want to talk about?
I do not. We actually rambled on quite longer than I was expecting. We're supposed to start trying to hold these things to 30 minutes. Yeah, I thought
we always say that. Before we go, what say you about the Jonathan Taylor stuff for the Colts?
Keep fighting.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. So here's the deal. I honestly think Jonathan Taylor is getting railroaded by Jim Irsay. And it's funny how the more and more owners are starting to look like the U.S. government, and the players are starting to look like citizens. And it's like, do what we tell you, and if you speak out against us, you're not going to have a career. You're not going to have a life.
Yeah.
I swear that's what it seems like. Because they said they put him, because look, the Colts put him on an injured reserve, right? Or an injured roster spot, whatever they call it, for a back injury. He comes out and says, I don't have a back injury. Where's the NFL saying, somebody cheating, somebody lying?
Right.
Who's lying? Right? I mean, shouldn't the NFL?
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that.
But the NFL, they ain't saying jack. Nobody's saying anything. They're like, ooh, let them fight it out. Yeah. And the whole time you have Irsay and you have Jonathan Taylor. To me, keep fighting. Keep fighting the power, John. Keep fighting it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, because apparently there's rumors out there that other teams are interested in trading for him. So now his agent's going to be like, hey, I've got so-and-so on the line. And of course, they're going to let that slip so that everybody knows how bad Jim Irsay and the Colts are. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird, man. The Colts kind of have a dysfunctional franchise, and they've been able to hold that for a while under wraps. But I remember I watched something where it was like Andrew Luck. It just sort of went through Andrew Luck's career. I didn't remember it this way, but they did a pretty good job of presenting. He was jacked up by the Colts, man. I mean, they basically didn't give him much help at all. And it was almost like, I thought they had a good good scouting department, good GM and all that. Not really. When you look at like the weapons they gave him, the protection they gave him, he was just getting absolutely destroyed. And I think they put him out of the league early. And it's interesting too, because somebody said that they're playing hardball with Taylor, but they didn't play hardball with Luck, because they could have went after like $25 million and chose not to, because he just retired. When you do that, you got to get some of your guaranteed money back.
Probably because they knew they treated him like ass.
And that could be exactly what it is. Maybe
that was the payoff. Don't sign this confidential agreement. Don't say anything, and you keep the $25 million we've already paid you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's anything like that, but it's great that they're, hey, If I'm glad because it's not us being dysfunctional.
Yeah, and it's funny because where's ESPN reporting on this? Why isn't how come nobody's saying why isn't the NFL investigating the Colts for this?
Yeah, they're
Right?
dysfunctional. When are they
I
going to
don't
move
understand.
to London? You know, this sort of stuff.
Yeah, where's Sports Illustrated? Where are all these sports outlets? Hell, where's our local media? Nobody's pounding the drum saying NFL, somebody's cheating or lying here. Shouldn't you figure it out? Because guess what? It's leaving a blemish on your sport when a team can say, you're hurt. No. You're hurt. I mean, wouldn't that would piss me off as a player, especially when I'm about to get a bonus. Somebody comes to me and be like, "You're hurt."
Yeah, and the problem they've got
when did I get hurt?
A PR problem because I think the NFL's completely in their right because the NFL Players Union negotiated this agreement, and there is no obligation for coaches to pay players just because they're great. Like, you could have the greatest punter, and it doesn't, that doesn't mean that he needs to make 10% of the salary cap. I mean, it doesn't mean that.
To me, I'm not even arguing the cash because I agree technically with the NFL stance. The game is no longer about a 3-down back. The game is about Christian McCaffrey and backs like Christian McCaffrey. And if you're not Christian McCaffrey, yes, you can find a role.
But doesn't Jonathan Taylor does that too, doesn't he?
I'm not sure I would put them in the same category.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Taylor is a little bit more steamroller.
Yeah, he is, but
with a touch of passing. Christian McCaffrey is more of a receiver with a small touch of scat back. I don't even know if he can steamroll. I probably no steamroll, more scat back, whatever.
He's a good sized scat back if you want to call him that.
But that's again, they're two different backs.
Yeah.
All of these backs are crying because they're not getting paid. You should have been this kind of back because that's what today's game is really calling for. That's what it's moving toward. That's the shift.
Well, I mean, the PR thing I'm talking about, though, is the way that they're crying. And I agree. It's unfortunate for the particular people to play that position because that is a great position notoriously in regards to the NFL. And yet, because the game has changed, it's just changed. I mean, it is
right.
What it is. And that's nobody's fault. But the way that the players are approaching it is almost like there's this grand conspiracy or this collusion that the league wants to really stick it to the running backs. Now, I know that's not true. It's just circumstance and what is beneficial, what positions are most valuable to the league right now. But
it's victimism playing out in sports.
But Irsay now makes it look like, because you just said that. He's almost, what he's doing almost plays into that sort of thing where, okay, I don't think they're being railroaded, but aren't you possibly lying about Jonathan Taylor having an injury just to sort of screw him because he doesn't want to play ball with you? And I get it. They should honor their contracts, people say. But there's also this sort of unwritten rule that you can hold out, you just won't get paid, like you're going to get fined in the training camp that you miss. There's all these things that were negotiated. And there's things that are on paper and there's things that have just been sort of the way things go. And I don't know, this is a weird situation, I think. But I brought it up. I think it's an interesting thing that we should touch on, and I'm glad it's happening to the Colts and not to the Jaguars. I wish more was happening to the Titans. There was some negative stuff going on. I can't remember right off the top of my head with them. But hey, let it spread.
Well, we'll see. Everybody, you guys need to remember, not this Friday, but next Friday is the first preseason game.
I thought it was a Saturday.
I think it's a Friday, right? It's the 12th. What's the 12th? 11 days away.
I don't know what day tomorrow is.
Okay. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday the 2nd. That's as much as I can tell you.
Well,
All
that's it
right,
for us
ladies
this
and
time.
gentlemen. Yep. Thank you for joining us on another fantastic voyage.
Duval.
Way to send them out, Frank. Way to send them out.